It's not even a matter of how, because it's not ugly. We've played well this tournament. So I don't want to hear Greg Berhalter this or Greg Berhalter that. At the end of the day, these guys performed. It was the right group. And from today, there are two players that I really want to single out. Well, one, we all know, Tyler Adams, absolute beast, player of the tournament for the U.S. Every game, brings it, sets the tone on and off the pitch. Incredible captain. But Josh Sargent was a beast today. Josh Sargent, hold-up play, his involvement, the runs, both sides of the ball, defending, checking back. Just Josh Sargent brought his A game today. And I don't know if I would have picked him to play today, but after today, he's the 9. He's the 9. Didn't get a great opportunity to score, but in terms of his involvement and what he brought to the table and his unselfishness in that final third, got to play.
Jimmy, do you agree with that in terms of his role? Because in the big moments, right, and I'm going to get into Haji Wright and his lack of what I thought were big moments or what he needed to do in the big moments, but when Josh Sargent, ball scrapping, 50-50 balls, in my mind, I'm like, oh, here comes another turnover, because he's in a tough position, and he got out of most of those and made the right decision. Do you agree with Charlie's assessment of Josh Sargent's role? I mean, I don't want to get it twisted. He didn't have this glorious game where he's like, the way that we want a striker to be. But he did exactly what we needed him to do.
But yeah, I agree. I think effective is the right word that Charlie's using. His hold-up play I thought was very good today, maybe the best we've seen from him in quite some time. His ability to I guess on both sides, the way he's pressing, the way that first line of defense and making it more predictable for everybody behind him, I thought was very good. His willingness to make thankless runs into the channels. I mean, I loved every part of it. I guess when you say Haji Wright, the thing I think about was the thing at the end where it was like a 3v2 and he hits the most tame cross into the goalkeeper to allow them to keep it alive instead of just taking it into the corner and killing the game off. So that's a big mark for me against Haji Wright because there should have been some more recognition.
That was one of 5 things with Haji Wright at the end of the game where he just looked clueless. Yeah. He looked a step off. He looked a step slow, whether it's holding the ball to draw a foul, whether it's making the right decisions on the ball, whether it's the right type of movement. He just looked off. And it was just a very bizarre thing to me to see it because all you've got at that point is energy, right? Just find a way to be effective. And when you get that moment to say, I'm going to put my foot on the ball, I'm going to draw a foul, I'm going to take it to the corner flag, I'm going to be busy, I'm going to scrap and fight. He just sort of looked like he was out there trying to figure out what to do.
Oh, he went robot on us.
You gone robot on us and froze a little bit on your screen, so we might be losing you. Charlie, I'll come to you until Jimmy comes back. But what was your take on the flip side, where we're obviously giving Sargent the start for the next game for his performance because of what he did, and not necessarily. I know people still want more. We all want more from our striker. But the reality is we came into this game saying we don't have a striker. We don't have a 9 that has proven anything to us that makes us believe that this person needs to play every game. He did enough to show that with the quality of the players around him, he can play a role, and that role was really good today. So flipping that over to Haji Wright, what was your take on just his limited minutes? Because I was pretty disappointed, if I'm honest.
Yeah, disappointing. I mean, let's also go into it's a tough role to come into where you're just fighting to keep the ball. You're trying to earn fouls. You're trying to hold the ball up in the corners and waste time. It's not a glamorous role, but that's what you have to do. He didn't really show enough for me. So and same thing if you're looking at the substitution, Shaq Moore has not done a single thing to say, man, we need to lock down the defense. We need a right back to come in.
He looks a little nervous. He's making bad decisions in these
he gives the ball
moments,
away,
which I understand. That's tough, man.
Just not it. Just there's no confidence from him when he comes into the game. So Haji Wright and Shaq Moore. And Shaq Moore has come in and both instances hasn't given really a positive since he's been on the pitch. But Sargent has done what is needed in the game, right? And that's what you look for as a 9. If you're not getting opportunities, how do you affect the game? He made runs into the channel. He checked for the ball. He won the ball back in transition. He won the ball back and when they had possession, winning the ball back for the team. He was good in the air.
He laid the ball off simply when the game was underneath him. He laid it off and went back up top, which is just things that we take for granted sometimes. But this national team has struggled to have that many sequences in a game with their 9 that are positive.
Yes. And Jimmy, I know you were saying something. So
No. I don't even remember what I was saying before, and apologies for dropping off.
Well, Jimmy, let's talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers then.
Yes.
What was your take on him getting the start there? Because I've got some thoughts on it, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah,
on just going with that as a difference. Obviously, it looks really good bringing Walker Zimmerman on at the end to be able to be a big body in a back five. But what was your overall take in his performance as well as the decision that Greg Berhalter made?
Yeah, I think that I was a little surprised. We've seen evidence before in previous World Cups, or you can see it in the club.
We may have lost Jimmy again.
They blocked. Blocked his Wi-Fi.
I think they blocked him again. But I'll give you my take, Charlie, while we're waiting for Jimmy. And is that with regard to this, and obviously we'll throw up a few graphics at certain points throughout the show for those of you that are watching this live. But Cameron Carter-Vickers, to me, looked reactive the entire game and not proactive. And that makes me really nervous. It's the same thing that I saw in Mark McKenzie at times.
Reactive and not proactive.
Yes.
I don't agree with that at all.
You don't agree with that?
No. I think he took good angles. He's not the fastest player, so he has to read the game. I thought he anticipated well. The first play, it was the 12th minute exactly. Just at the turn of the 12th minute, 13th minute, Cameron Carter-Vickers wins a challenge on a ball to Taremi, and Taremi was checking for the ball. And if you don't win this challenge, he turns and he goes and he's gone.
Yeah,
he was positive today for me.
I see. That's where I'm not. I wasn't as hot on him, just in terms of his positioning at times, where to be, when to go, when to stay. Again, as a defender, I'm watching him more proactively.
You got to watch
throughout the match.
Again. You got to watch.
Yeah, I'll watch it over again. But it was more in like crunch times. There was times that I think that he was reactive and playing almost, again, this is the same thing that I think Eric Palmer-Brown suffers from. This is what I think Mark McKenzie suffers from in the national team. A little bit of that hesitance, of that, I don't want to say lack of belief, but that lack of just trusting themselves at all times to go and make that play for the fear that it might be that fatal error, right? Of just deciding to go, but seeing just that little bit of time pass to where now he's arriving late and there's this gap, or when he's pinching in and out. Overall, though, this team performance, to go out against this Iran team who only needed a draw, for a team that had never been in this position before, with all these young players, on Yunus Musa's 20th birthday, was incredible. Now, I thought Yunus Musa got kind of knackered there by the end, but an incredible performance from him. And if there was anything that I was going to take away in terms of being critical, was, again, right when you were coming on, I was talking about being a little bit better at understanding the moments of the game and the flow of the game, right? When does Timo Weah put his foot on the ball? Now, I'm never going to discredit him for his energy. I'm never going to discredit Anthony Robinson for his energy. But there were times where you just go, is it better to just put your foot on and keep it? Is it better to do something else with the ball than maybe turn it over? Or those types of little decisions, knowing that, hey, we've been defending for long periods, or now we've opened up the game, we're a little bit exposed. What are those moments and how can we be a little bit better in them? That's really looking under a microscope. But overall, I thought the performance was phenomenal. Jimmy, good to see you again.
Yeah.
We were just talking about,
just before you even go. So, Jim, he thinks Cameron Carter-Vickers was reactive and not proactive today, and didn't rate his performance, where I said, you got to watch that tape over, because the thing that stood out to me is when Cameron Carter-Vickers was in possession, you weren't worried. When Walker Zimmerman's in possession, you're on your toes. You're like, oh God, don't make that wrong pass. I think for me, Cameron Carter-Vickers was solid throughout the whole game. He anticipated plays. He lacks speed, but you wouldn't have known that just because he was cutting off. He's taking the right angles, and I thought every challenge he made, it was solid. There was not a big glaring mistake other than at the end when he pulls Taremi. But he also did it in a clever way where he put him off enough to make contact, but not enough to give a foul away.
Yeah, I'll just say he did.
I can't believe we're losing Jimmy again right now. We've lost him again. Lost him again.
Come on,
look, there's people in there saying put Heath on the spot. It's a terrible take. I'll stand by that. Go back and watch him for 90 minutes. His positioning at times was off. When I say reactive, I'm not talking about every single play. Obviously, he did a great job. On the ball, he did a great job. There was a lot of things about his game that were really good, but there was a lot of things throughout the game that made me really nervous when they're coming down the left side of the field, and he was the one having to go and make that play. What's that?
I said more nervous than Walker.
No, I mean, I'm not more nervous than Walker. I'm just talking about the fact that we decided to go with the guy in the third game and put him into this pressure environment. I think he did fine, but there are situations that made me very nervous that he was in terms of there was a moment where there was an offside call where he was running inside and the guy spun out his other shoulder. He had his back turned the wrong way. There's things like that I go, man, he doesn't have the speed to make up for those types of mistakes. So he does need to be nearly 99.9% perfect every game in the way that he plays. I thought that he was close to that today, and he never made a big mistake. But there were still times that I was watching him, watching his movements, the little details that made me a little bit nervous at times when I think about the next opponent where the margin of error gets a little bit smaller and you can be punished for it. But are you going to go with Cameron Carter-Vickers in the next game?
Yes, because you look at Holland and the Netherlands, how they play, and Cody Gakpo is incredible a player right now, playing insane, going to get sold for a lot of money. But Gakpo is not a player who's just going to be running in behind, not a player who's just playing in the air. The Holland team, the Dutch team, keep the ball on the ground. Knowing that, I want a center back who's comfortable with the ball on the ground. And that is Cameron Carter-Vickers, and exactly why Greg Berhalter played Cameron Carter-Vickers over Walker Zimmerman, because he wants his center backs closer on the balls, closer to the game with being able to play out of the back, playing with the ball at his feet.